Water is fucking everywhere. It's most of what our meat tractors are made of, as are various fluids. In the ground, it saturates and flows in underground rivers. It travels in clouds. It's in the very air we breathe as humidity. It's rain and creek and river, all of which flow into the ocean. We wash with it and ride upon it and drink it and piss it out. But what is the nature of water? Hard to say because it conforms to its container. If it's in a glass, it's a fucking glass of water. In a tub, it's a tub of water. In a depression in the earth, it's a lake. In a bladder, it's piss. And in a toilet bowl, it's a bowl of toilet water. Water doesn't give a shit. Well, it flushes a shit, but you know what I mean? It's everywhere, and we depend on it without even really thinking about it. But this isn't about water, it's about something else. Consciousness poured into me is me, duh. And as consciousness pours through this mostly watery aperture, it perceives itself as the center of this sea of reality, as a me, within this moist meat container with its amazing mustache lid. And consciousness poured into you is you, hello, and as you, consciousness gets to take on a different shape and perceive itself as a different data point, but also another center of fucking everything. Every drop of rain is a reference point for the sea as it was once an ocean and travels from cloud to ground to trickle and stream to river and back to ocean again, constantly merging and separating. A drop is not the ocean, but the nature of an ocean and a drop are the same. They're both fucking wet. We all have our developed paradigms and river views of reality. River water is very much a river and water in a puddle is very much a puddle, but one is not wetter than the other. If you like your reality dry and just like it is, maybe swipe away now. I'm not here to fuck with your fiction if you don't want it. But what if reality is not what your limited senses or adopted beliefs tell you it is? A puddle doesn't remember what it's like to be an ocean, but it's never not wet. And the fact that it's never not wet hinders it from realizing its original nature because it can never be dry and still be water. We are drops that recognize a beginning as we fell from a cloud and an end when we hit the fucking ground. The ocean evaporates into the sky and simultaneously welcomes all the rivers as the drops of itself experience every possibility of what water can be. You can't really tell a drop of piss that it's the ocean. You can't implore a river to not be wet. They are just that, wetness. If a puddle somehow realized its own wetness, then it would fully understand the sea, although it may be thousands of miles away from its origin. There is something that flows through reality. It's not like rivers running over land, though. It's currents in a singular sea. There are movements in the great stillness that produce temporary waves, solitary things that briefly skim the surface with a set of characteristics that can be pointed at and categorized until such a time that the wave slows and sinks to become once again, oceanic awareness. All evidence that comes through your senses and are rejected or assimilated by the ego are there to convince you that you are a puddle with clear lines of demarcation. We are aware and awake and conscious and convinced that we are contained within the puddle of me. Our shoreline seems to be skin, and beyond that is a belief that all that shit out there is different from all this shit in here. It's not, but it is. A puddle is not the ocean, but it can absolutely know the ocean through knowing its own wetness. We've been searching since antiquity to put a name or assign a meaning to our perpetual wetness, something we might call consciousness or awareness, but that's not quite it. Words are limiting. A thought cup cannot contain the entire fucking sea. We've made some great big fucking cups, though, called belief, and organized some of those into religion because we sense somehow there's something. We don't think we know what it is because it's too close. We miss it every fucking time. Water is always wet, but all it sees is its container. We are always awake, even though we are identified with thought and meat. You can't really know that you're wet by looking for wetness. You just have to forget the container, transcend labels and identification and thought itself. Know that you don't know. Be willing to give up all that you know, and perhaps in exchange you'll realize the one thing true. You bet. You're all fucking wet. Toodaloo.